Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third and final session of a three-day series of candidates forum for our municipal candidates for the municipal election to be held on Tuesday, May 14, 2024. Today we are hosting the 5th Ward candidates, and they're the final sets. I'll now turn over to our moderator, the Honorable Kenneth M. Morris, Jr. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this forum with the 5th Ward candidates. I do apologize for those who are tuning in and may be expecting to have seen the 6th Ward candidates as opposed to the 5th Ward candidates, but we had a slight modification in the schedule. So again, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and I'm sure we're going to have a lively conversation. I think you will agree after hearing these candidates, you will have a difficult choice to make in the 5th Ward, but I encourage you to either participate in early voting, which starts on May the 10th and runs to Sunday, May the 12th, and obviously Election Day on May the 14th. Again, so for early voting, you know, on Friday and Saturday, you can vote early from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It'll be held at the Paterson Fire Department at 300 McBride Avenue and at the Heritage Center at Alexander Hamilton at 685 East 35th Street. Before we hear from our candidates, I would also like to take this opportunity to point out to you the polling sites within the 5th Ward. In District 1 is the Reverend William Griffin Homes at 199 Carroll Street. The entrance is on Ellison Street. In District 2 is at the new Roberto Clemente School, 482-506 Market Street. Use the Pennington Street gym entrance. In District 3 is Eastside High School at 150 Park Avenue. In District 4 is the new Roberto Clemente School at 482-506 Market Street. Again, the entrance is at Pennington Street. District 5 is the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. School, school number 30, located at 851 East 28th Street, corner of 20th Avenue and East 28th Street. In District 6, it's the Kilpatrick School, located at 295 3-315 Ellison Street, the corner of Summer and Ellison Street. District 7 is the new Roberto Clemente School, once again, at 482-506 Market Street. In District 8, it's the Martin DePores Village, 1 Green Street. Please be advised that the International High School at 200 Grand Street, the gymnasium at the lower level is no longer being used as a polling site for this particular district. District 9 is Governor Paterson Towers North at 211 20th Avenue, and District 10 is school number 2, 22 Passaic Street, corner of Mill and Passaic Street. Again, we'd like to welcome our candidates. We have Sebastian Mahia. We over me is his designation on the ballot. Position 1A. We have David Sue. Sue for you. His ballot position is 3A. And we have candidate Luis Velez, the People's Councilman, Canciller del Pueblo. Ballot position 4A. Candidates, you will have 5 minutes in which to provide your opening remarks. I will like to point out to you one of the most important people in the room, that's Twidacia Hilbert. She will hold up various signs to let you know when your time is about to conclude. She'll begin with the 5-minute sign, then move on to the right, then move on to the 2 minutes. When you have about 1 minute remaining, well, you skipped the 1 minute sign. And then obviously when we need for you to conclude, she will hold up the stop sign. All right, thank you, Ms. Hilbert. We also making sure that things run smoothly on the technical side. We have Mr. Ryan Foote. We also have Mr. Rafael Gonzalez, Sergio, and also Samuel Ferreira, right? We're also joined by Corporation Counsel, Amen Abusi, right? We have our Deputy Clerk, Phyllis Riley, and you will be hearing often from our Clerk, Miss Jackie Murray. So gentlemen, again, beginning in alphabetical order, we now invite candidate Sebastian Mahia to provide us with his opening remarks.
Councilman Morris, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to come here and express myself, introduce myself and my platform to the residents of the Fifth Ward. My name is Sebastian Mahia. I'm a lifelong Patersonian, born and raised here. I went through the school system, and I currently work within the city of Paterson with our children. As an advocate for our community, I've dedicated my life to serving the residents, and in particular, the children of our community. Because I understand that if the children have role models, if the children have advice, we can avoid further conflict in the future. The residents of the Fifth Ward understand that we are facing a variety of crises. We are overcrowded. Garbage is at an all-time high. Violence is overtaking our streets. Potholes are all over the Fifth Ward. What I aim to do, given the opportunity to be the next Fifth Ward councilman, to work alongside the rest of the council, school board, and other local, federal agencies, whatever needs to be done in order to address the needs and challenges of the residents of the Fifth Ward. I understand that many may question me when it comes to my experience, but I'm here to say that innovation does not require any experience. And that is what I bring to the table. I bring to the table a new generation of leadership that's ready, willing, and able to learn from my colleagues along with members of the community in order to best serve them. As a constant figure at our city council meetings, I've been able to see the highs and the lows of our local governance. I've been able to see what's missing, what's working, and what work still needs to be done. That's why my philosophy is called we over me. Because I understand that it's not a one-man show, and if anyone tells you that they know all the answers, they're lying. I look to be a collaborator and a legislator within our community and within the city council. As a proud son of Colombian immigrants that came to this country, they instilled in me hard work, respect, and dedication, which is what I also look to bring towards our city council. There are many issues that I look forward to addressing. Given the opportunity, I will fulfill that role to the best of my ability. As someone who took the time to educate themselves in political science and religious studies at the university level, I think it well equips me to represent the Fifth Ward, who we all know is extremely diverse when it comes to cultures, languages, religions, and ethnic backgrounds. Ultimately, I am here as your servant, as your neighbor, and as your son. Given the opportunity to serve you, I will do it to the best of my ability and work together so that we can have a brighter future for the Fifth Ward. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to do a job and present myself to the best of my ability, understanding that this whole process has been a learning process and is a job interview at the end of the day. I'm going into this knowing that I'm here to work for you and represent your interests moving forward. I look forward to your support so that I could represent the Fifth Ward in the upcoming 4 years of my tenure. And I will say this in closing. No matter what happens May 14th, I will be a consistent figure in the city of Paterson. Continue to learn, grow, and work together with my community so that we ensure that the future is in good hands. My name is Sebastian Mahia. We over me, and I am 1A on the ballot.
Thank you, Candidate Mahia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will have an opportunity to hear the opening remarks from Candidate Sue. Candidate Sue?
Thank you. David Sue. Thank you, David Sue. I'm actually a relatively newcomer to living in the Fifth Ward. They redistricted in what was a portion of the First Ward to the Fifth Ward. And so I think the reason why I ran, put my name on the ballot, is because I think the city is gone in a really different, kind of strange direction that I don't think we should be going in. So it seems to me that we're not getting the services we need because it's a matter of favoritism and directing money toward things that don't really help us all, just help certain people. The process of accountability through audits, where you see the interaction between the city council and its code, which is like a playbook or a rule book, and making sure the administration implements that strategy correctly, and having that in documentation is what I think we need to do. I've also talked about the overpopulation of the city. Politicians seem to really be attracted to doing a lot of housing development, but as we saw recently, the school district is got problems. 90% of the high school students in public schools couldn't pass the state math exam. That's a really, really serious problem. The other thing I've talked about with the public is that there's a $18 billion transportation project coming through the corridor in the Northeast, the largest public works project in the United States, from Boston to Washington, D.C. We're not going to get a direct connection to New York City. We're not going to get directly connected to that route other than to transfer in Secaucus. That's a huge miss for our community. They said that there could be an increase in property values of up to 19% if we were connected to this project, and I think we really need to make sure that happens. I've been very concerned about the chaotic nature of council meetings, and I think it just serves as a distraction from the more serious issues that we need to get involved with. If I could just take a minute and talk about my background in the city. I've lived here over 30 years now. I was essentially invited to live in Paterson, to live in what they call the artists' housing over on Van Houten and Mill Street. I was very concerned about a development project at the old ATP site that they wanted to just build townhouses there. And I fought that development for many years, and the controversy, 3 New York Times articles, numerous television spots, all these activities created so much attention to the Great Falls that it caused interest in revisiting the idea of a national park, and the park was created. More recent years, there's the Vistas Park now that they're talking about, and I was able to do a lawsuit to stop that development, and the stopping of that development, or the slowing of that development, gave the opportunity for Green Acres to come in and buy the property, and that is now the newest 8.5-acre park, one of the largest parks in the city, to come to fruition. I've served some titles in local government, wanting to volunteer and contribute to my community. I was the chairman of the Paterson Zoning Board and served 2 terms on that board. I was the chairman of the Urban Enterprise Zone and served 2 terms there. When Jeff Jones became mayor of Paterson, I was asked to do essentially an audit by being the chairman of a public safety, police, and fire department transition team. And we didn't direct the actions of those departments, but we looked into it to make sure everything would work as best as they could. And most importantly to me, a favorite role that I've had is that at my building, the Essex and Phoenix Mills, where I've lived for over 30 years, pretty much except for maybe 1 or 2 years in the beginning, that whole time I've been the Tenant Association president, the only person to be elected repeatedly, and I've been an advocate for my neighbors and my neighborhood, which I'm proud to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candidate Sue. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall have an opportunity to hear the opening remarks from Candidate Valz. Candidate Valz?
Thank you, Paterson. Thank you to all the viewers out there right now through Channel 77, Channel 32, YouTube, the residents of Paterson watching this forum, informational forum. I want to say thank you to Madam Clerk for your hard work to put this together, for your staff on the City Council and the City Clerk office. Ken Morris, thank you for being here. You feel like you've been part of the council for longest. Thank you for being here. And also Corporation Council, thank you for being here. And those working behind those cameras, I say thank you to them. But more important, as your councilman in the 5th Ward of the City of Paterson, so everybody knows that I'm Louis Velez, councilman since 2016, but not councilman since 2016 only. Way before being a councilman, I was involved with the community and their needs in the effort to move forward the City of Paterson, not only the 5th Ward, the City of Paterson. Working together in the City of Paterson and also in the chambers with my colleagues, we have improved the 5th Ward. We have paved more than 90% of our roads in the 5th Ward. We have moved 250 abandoned property to tax rolls. We have improved parks, and we're going to continue doing that with the leadership of Louis Velez as your councilman in the 5th Ward. Councilman Morris stated it's going to be a difficult choice in the 5th Ward. I don't agree with that. I think it's going to be a good choice because you have seen Councilman Louis Velez active in action in the City of Paterson. And from my seat to the people, I have served with integrity, transparency, and making sure all level of government is run properly. When we talk about public safety, we have invested a lot of money, a lot of grants to make sure our residents in the 5th Ward be safe and they could walk back and forth from schools and make sure that they have a quality life they deserve. The cleanliness of the 5th Ward is clean. Those that want to say that it's not clean, it is clean. The responsibility of the councilman is not to go out there and start sweeping streets. It's to have communication for those hard-working men and women from the DPW to make sure whatever mess any resident do out there, they go out there and address it. So we could go on and on and on today, but today I'm going to tell you, don't change what is good. Vote for 4 more years, for action, Louis Velez, the People's Councilman. Damas y caballeros, soy su concejal del 5º barrio de esta gran ciudad de Paterson. Orgullosamente desde 2016 he venido trabajando por la calidad de vida en el 5º barrio. Hemos sacado 250 propiedades fuera del abandono. Hemos creado 36 nuevos proyectos donde el 5º barrio se ha visto beneficiado. Hemos puesto más policía para garantizar la seguridad pública en nuestras carreteras, especialmente en el 5º barrio. Hemos pavimentado el 90% de todas las calles del 5º barrio, con las ayudas de nuestros concejales, trabajando juntos por el beneficio del 5º barrio y también por nuestra ciudad. Continuaremos trabajando. No cambien lo bueno si lo bueno está progresando en el 5º barrio. Vota 4A, 4 con acción, 4 años más por su concejal Luis Vélez, el concejal del pueblo. Thank you, Morris.
Thank you, Candidate Velez. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a point in the forum where each of the candidates will have an opportunity to ask their opponents a total of 3 questions. Again, we will begin in alphabetical order, beginning with candidate Sebastian Mahia. We ask that he join us here at the dais to the right of Madam Clerk. Candidate Mahia, you can ask each of the candidates 3 questions in an order of your choosing.
Thank you, Councilman Morris. I will begin with Mr. Su. If elected councilman, given your experience as an artist, what steps will you implement to ensure that the arts are thriving within the Fifth Ward?
Thank you. I think really we can have events in our parks where we give an opportunity to children to express their creative activities in the town. We can have art events at various venues where people can make paintings and you know, display their work. I think it's a great idea to create these types of engagements and activities with the kids, but really most of that it takes place in the school system at this point, so we'd have to interact with them directly, and I think that would be a great opportunity. We could certainly build on the Arts Council we have in town and look at the city code and talk to them and see what type of resources they need to make this a bigger feature in our community. That's a good question. Thank you.
Candidate Mahia, you can ask an additional question of Candidate Su, or you can move on to Candidate Velez.
I would be able to come back around?
Yes.
Thank you. The next question is for Councilman Velez. Given your commitment to true and real leadership, honesty and transparency being key factors to both, how do you address concerns from voters that your opposition to televising city council workshop meetings has led to a decrease in both transparency and innovation in city governance?
So as you are aware, and the residents of Paterson are aware, and former councilmen are aware, we never televise workshop. Yes, we televise special meetings in the workshop. That's why you see that when we start the workshop, then we go to section at a certain time and at that meeting at 8 o'clock, and then we turn in the TV, and that's why we transmit the part of the workshop that calls special meeting. Because special meeting, you had to do formal action. So it had to be televised because that formal action had to be public. We're not against people coming into the chambers and express themselves. We are there, the doors are open. If the public want to come and address the council, the doors are open. We're not against to inform and be transparent in everything from this side of the fence, because we are doing that since we got elected in the city of Paterson.
Candidate Mahia, you can ask a follow-up question of Candidate Velez, or you can move on to Candidate Su.
My next question is for Candidate Su. What steps would you take to improve the quality of life for the students in the Fifth Ward, given the opportunities that they have currently for recreation?
I think really with the students across the board in the city, we have to do a couple of things. You know, one, we have to make sure the city is safe. So moving the ball with regard to public safety, making sure that the community is safe would be an excellent step in the right direction. It's not good to go anywhere in town if you don't feel safe. With regard to recreation, I think we need to make sure that there are opportunities at all the local schools, because children should not have to run across the whole city just to find an opportunity to do something. So I know they do have after-school recreation programs, and certainly East Side is a big part of this town, you know, in the Fifth Ward. And would just consolidate those efforts there. Continue good programming and push to keep the opportunities moving. Really, these questions are excellent questions, but I think we have to really look toward more global issues as well as the feet on the ground issues, which is definitely a feet on the ground issue. Thank you very much.
Candidate Mahia.
Thank you. My next question is for Councilman Velez. As a member of the DPW committee, and keeping in mind the recent change of how our garbage is being collected, what steps have you taken to allocate grant money to provide residents of the Fifth Ward with appropriate trash receptacles?
Once again, some people had to know what's a legislative position that you're taking and what is an administrative position. We have received $1,000 of grant money to address the recycling of our city. That's one. We supply recyclable to our residents. They could go to the traffic division, they could go pick it up, and they will have a blue recycle can in their home. Regarding the garbage, ladies and gentlemen, we are the legislative part of the city. If you have a problem with the garbage, we put all the resources. As the chairman of DPW, when they ask for trucks, when they ask for equipment, when they ask for employees, we are there to support them with the resource that they need, and we have put it in place. That is an administrative position to make enforcement, to make sure that it's getting done in the city of Paterson. I don't have no problem dirtying my hands and go pick up a garbage if I see it, because I'm true and real leadership.
Candidate Mahia.
Yes, this next and final question for Mr. Su. What experience do you bring to the table from your past involvement within your community in the Fifth Ward that helps you fulfill the role of councilman in terms of leadership?
Thank you. Excellent question. So I'd say it falls into a couple of different categories. One is the feet on the ground category. So I've been a tenant association president for decades at my properties, 144 units of housing, making sure that the residents at my property and people in my neighborhood get the services that they should through their landlord and the community from the government has been a big part of that work. In the past, I've had a number of roles in the city which I've touched on, but I've been principally a community activist, fighting for the opportunity that I felt could be born at the Great Falls and the Historic District. I'm the recipient of a New Jersey State Historic Preservation Award for work in education regarding the Great Falls historic area. That type of knowledge passed on to our youth, knowing our history, knowing our past, has been key. As the former chairman of the Paterson Zoning Board, I understand that the way we use our land defines how we live. The time I spent working in public safety with the transition of the police and fire department and public safety into the new administration for Jeffrey Jones gave me a real deep insight into how that operates. And my work with the urban enterprise zone also let me look into economic development and the types of things we need to build our community. And also my work in pro se litigation, doing lawsuits without attorneys, up to the Supreme Court successfully, briefing the Supreme Court, lets me understand how the law works in a way that is really pushing close to the level of what lawyers do. And I think that's a very key missing component at the City Council, because they get manipulated by the attorneys and the officials, and it's really quite a shame to watch. Anyway, thank you for the question.
Candidate Mahia, you can now ask your third and final question of Candidate Velez.
Finally, for Councilman Velez. Fifth Ward residents are facing issues such as overpopulated schools, overburdened sewer system, an understaffed police department, lack of parking, and an overworked Department of Public Works. Given your financial ties to developers who frequently donate to your campaign and are interested in continuing the overdevelopment in the Fifth Ward, how can you reassure the residents that this is not a conflict of interest?
Wow, out of facts. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, DPW have been equipped from this council many times to perform their work. That's the first thing. Second, we, the council, do not approve no project in the city of Paterson. That's why they have a zoning board, and that's why they have a planning board. Those boards are the person responsible to make sure that they met the requirement to make sure redevelopment comes in the city of Paterson. Now, I drafted, and the legal department, and I cannot comment on this because he's here, but he could attest that I drafted the citywide parking permits for residents that will alleviate more spaces for our residents in the city of Paterson. He put like 4 questions in one. I could talk on and on regarding the schools. Probably I could ask him if he knows how many schools the Fifth Ward have. He probably don't know. But that's a collaboration between the city of Paterson, the administration, and the school district that have to work together to make sure that schools are met and requirements are met in the city of Paterson, not only in the Fifth Ward, in the city of Paterson.
Thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have an opportunity to hear from candidate Sue as he has his questions of his opponents. Again, he will get 3 questions each for his opponents, and they will have 2 minutes in which to respond. Candidate Sue, you can ask your questions in the order you choose.
Councilman Valz, I don't know if I'm too close here. Councilman Valz, you were just saying that the Planning and Zoning Board are responsible for real estate development in Paterson. That's actually not true. That's actually not true. The root of planning and zoning is that there's a municipal master plan which lays out how the city is to be developed, where there's housing, where there's commercial, where these different things are supposed to take place, how much housing, how much commercial, and where. The city council is the one that enacts that document. They take a reference from the planning board, but they're the one who does that. Then there's a zoning ordinance which codifies, it says, okay, buildings with these many apartments inside of it, this type of commercial district, et cetera. So I'm very concerned when you say that it's the boards that do that you're not understanding that. And why is it that you don't understand that? My question, why don't you understand that? You've been doing this for a long time.
I don't know, are you doing a statement or doing a question?
That was a question. Why don't
Hold on, you're not going to rebuttal with me,
City
sir.
Council defines
Sorry.
it.
Candidate Sue, allow candidate Velez to respond to your
Yes.
question.
So first of all, this gentleman that asked that question stood in one of those boards way, way back, and he was removed from that board for poor attendance and other issues. Now, he knows that the board, the planning board and the zoning board follow a lot of state statutes. And those state statutes, we could follow them through the council. 2013, we adopted a redevelopment zone that was supported by the state of New Jersey. So that document is approved by the council and delivered to both boards. They are the one that examine by witness, by engineering, by traffic engineering, by planners, by anybody that want to construct in the city of Paterson, by attorney, and they go in front of those board and they made the judgment to approve those projects. I don't know what part he don't get, Mr. Sue.
Candidate Sue, you have an opportunity to ask an additional question of Candidate Velez, or you can move on to candidate Mahia.
No, I'll ask another one of Councilman Velez, please. Councilman, as Sebastian was saying, you know, you have a close tie to real estate developers in town, and the city's clearly overpopulated. In 2021, I went to the city council and I talked about how the mayor was boasting of 4,000 new units of housing, could easily mean 4,000 more students. Now we have a crisis in our educational system in Paterson. We see 90% of the high school students failing their ability to pass the state test in math. All right? So you've pushed a lot of this development. You've been a strong advocate for it. But here's the consequence. The consequence is overcrowded schools. We don't have enough resources for the kids to get a proper education. And, you know, how do you feel about that? You've pushed for something that's actually created a lot of harm. And are you going to continue to do the same thing? Are you going to continue to push for more housing? So I guess that's a two-part question, and I hope you can answer it.
Well, I'm going to continue answering your question. Once again, look at yourself at the mirror. Look at yourself before 2016, our city was a ghost town. Businesses was not in a Main Street, Park Avenue, Summer Street, all that section was a ghost town. We have a lot of abandoned properties, ladies and gentlemen. The redevelopment zone allow us to construct, take those abandoned properties into our tax rolls. That's why you see redevelopment, that's why you see growth in the city of Paterson. Listen, you know what's the relation with me and developers? That we talk about the needs of Paterson. Let's ask how many donation those individuals, you so-called development, redevelopers or whatever, give to our city, not to the council, to the kids of the city, to the parks. How many donations they give to the city to benefit the quality of life of our city. I don't know why people hating seeing the city growth. Why you hating seeing the city growth? When he moved, well, he was forced to live in the Fifth Ward almost a year and a half ago, so I don't know how he could speak about the Fifth Ward redevelopment and growth.
Candidate Sue, you can ask a final question of candidate Velez, or you can move on to candidate Mahia.
I'm going to have to repeat my question. Sir, it's specifically the increase of population that is overcrowding the school. So in 2021, I gave this analogy, right? So the school district is like a boat, overcrowded with children. And apparently, the solution the council has come up with, which, sir, you've been a strong advocate for, is to put more children in the boat. So if the boat can only hold, you know, in our town, we're short 160 teachers, the classrooms are overcrowded, the kids are failing in school, but yet there's still this push to put in more housing. It impacts the kids tremendously. And when the boat is overcrowded and it sinks, it doesn't just take down the new kids that get into the boat, it takes them all down. Do you really, you're being irresponsible to these kids, in my opinion, and I'm asking you to answer for that, please, sir. Answer, why is it good? Yeah, I understand you're filling lots and all that stuff, but the consequence is overcrowded schools, 90% of the kids in high school failing math, and it's because, and the city's role is a safe city and the level of population. That's our biggest role in education. Our biggest role in education. So why do you keep on pushing for more population in the city when it has such a terrible consequence for the children? That's my question.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I'm on the school board or I'm in the city council. The city council have adopted a growth ordinance in the city of Paterson. Do you want to see the city of Paterson being the way it was 20 years ago? No. See, people like this is the one that want to see our city going down. First of all, we as council have to have a direct communication with the school district. It's a responsibility of the school district to see how they invest the $700 million they have in the budget to give it back to our schools. I have 12 schools plus charter schools in the city of in the Fifth Ward. We have constructed, the school district had constructed a new school in the Second Ward. There's another charter school, it's gonna be in the Third Ward. So charter schools are popping out everywhere to satisfy the demand of shortage of schools. That is responsibility of the school district to put schools out there. So I don't know which one he want to talk about, government, or he want to talk about school district, but I think that those questions should be to the Board of Education.
Candidate Sue, you now have an opportunity to ask 3 questions of candidate Mahia.
Sebastian, thank you. I'm going to ask you a very similar question to what I asked Councilman Valz, which is, do you feel that the spike in residential development, increasing the population in the school system, is worth the consequence to the children? Is there a positive consequence, negative consequence? And if it's negative or positive, is that spike in residential growth worth the impact that it's having on the kids' lives?
The spike in residential growth that has occurred in the city of Paterson, particularly in the Fifth Ward, and I could say this from my experience within the classroom, I've seen the increase in classroom sizes and the negative impact that it has on our students. Yes, our public school system has a budget that it has to deal with, but one must take into consideration the high cost associated with building a new school. And how are we going to build new schools if every chance we get, we're building apartment buildings? These apartment buildings have to be filled by people. People multiply. People get together, they have babies. Those babies we have to educate by law. But are we truly acting in collaboration with our school system as a municipal government if we're acting irresponsibly and promoting the overpopulation of our community?
Candidate Sue, you have an opportunity now to ask an additional question of candidate Mahia.
Candidate Mahia, you've heard me talk about the importance of transportation and the shortcomings of our current conditions. Is that something that you would advance as a council member, or do you think maybe I'm talking out of left field with regard to that issue?
That is a very complex issue. We have to understand that we are, to an extent, are limited on our local level as to what we can do. But if we truly want to increase the level of transportation availability within the city of Paterson, we must be able to work amongst legislators at the state and federal level. Looking towards the future of Paterson, I must look at the present now first. And I understand that we are located in an extremely convenient location close to the New York metropolitan area. So we have to make decisions to increase the availability of transportation if we look towards the future for the Fifth Ward and the entire city of Paterson.
Candidate Sue, you have an opportunity now to ask a 3rd and final question of candidate Mahia.
Candidate, how do you think we can draw together? The Fifth Ward sits in the core of the city. I think it's the only ward that actually has a boundary with every other ward in the city. So really the needs of the Fifth Ward are very similar to the needs of all other wards. It's not distinctly different. Is there something that you would do in the Fifth Ward that would impact all the other wards, that it would actually radiate out from the Fifth Ward to benefit everyone else? Or whatever you would believe would be best for the whole city?
As all 3 of us know, the Fifth Ward is located in the heart of Paterson. bordering several other wards. We have to, as a ward, shine. We have to lead by example in education, in cleanliness, and in innovation. If we want the rest of the city of Paterson to raise its standard, we have to start with ourselves. People have to be able to drive through the Fifth Ward and be enthusiastic by seeing how clean it is, how many flowers are planted, how much pride people take in their residences. So that is what I think we need to do. Lead by example on all fronts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Sue. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, Candidate Velez will have an opportunity to ask 3 questions of his opponent. We ask that Candidate Velez join us at the dais to the right of Madam Clerk. Each candidate, Mahia and Candidate Sue, you will have approximately 2 minutes to respond. Candidate Velez, you can ask your questions in the order of your choosing.
Thank you, Councilman Morris. It's nice to be next to my city clerk here. I feel so honored to be here with you. You know, first of all, I was going to ask a question for a candidate never being in a forum. I don't know why he's not here, but, well, no questions for him. He'd been missing in action. Second, these 2 gentlemen, they had an opportunity to a reporter, Mr. John Monicanico, called them and asked if they had something to say about my leadership, of my work, and they say they don't have nothing against. In other words, they have approved my work as a councilman. So it's fair to say, if I have a question, I don't have questions for them. They don't have nothing to deliver. You have notice right now. So why should I ask them questions? They don't have a platform, how to curb crime, how to reduce the litter in City of Paterson. They don't have nothing to offer. So I want to sit back here and listen whatever they want to say, but I'm here to tell you, as your councilman in the 5th Ward, I have proved my leadership with my work, with my presence, and making sure the whole entire residents of Paterson, the 23,000 residents that have the 5th Ward, be served with true and real leadership. So, Councilman Maury, with all due respect, I don't have no questions for that.
Thank you, Candidate Velez. Given the fact that you don't have questions of the candidates, I will now take the opportunity to ask each of the candidates a question on behalf of the residents of the 5th Ward, beginning with Candidate Mahia. During Candidate Velez's remarks, he had brought up 2 initial points, so why don't we begin with one of those points. Candidate Mahia, what is your plan to curb crime in the 5th Ward?
I understand that crime is a multi-layered issue. There are social factors, economic factors that lead to reasons why people, especially our youth, commit crimes. And the economic front of that, many of our young men, sometimes young women as well, choose to engage in crime because they lack financial opportunities. That is why part of my platform is to initiate a mentorship program or an apprentice program between our local businesses, our city government, which employs, as we learned earlier today, more than 1,500 people, and our public school system, further engaging in the collaboration between our municipal government and our public school system. Starting an apprentice program where high school seniors can earn credits towards their degree while at the same time working with our local businesses so they can learn real-world skills, so they can learn about governance, so they can learn things for the future, increase their resume, which many of our students do want to go to college. Some of them want to go to trade schools, so they can have the opportunity to get some real-world experience so they don't have to choose the life of crime. I will also love to advocate for grant money to invest in brighter streets that will lead to a reduction in crime within our 5th Ward.
Thank you, Candidate Mahia. Candidate Sue, if you can please share with the viewing audience your plan to reduce litter within the 5th Ward.
Well, the simple first step would be to return to trash collection 3 days a week. Most properties in the 5th Ward do not have a place to store garbage on the property, so that garbage just ends up laying on the curb and blows all over the place. So requiring a 3-day-a-week pickup would be a good first step. I think we should, with the larger apartment buildings, the big multifamily buildings, I think that the city of Paterson should stop picking up their trash. I think we should make those larger companies have private pickup. We should set a standard in the code for how much dumpster space they need per resident that they have on the property, so we don't have overflowing dumpsters all over the place, letting trash go everywhere. So really, in a lot of ways, it's the point source from where the trash is coming from that is a big issue, because nobody has time. No town can just run around picking up everybody else's garbage that's blowing around all over the place. It's just nonsense. We have it in our code that inspectors can go around, they can take a quick photograph of a property and have a summons served on the property owner. This is especially true with the residential properties that have landlords. And those types of code enforcement measures would do a lot to pay for the costs associated with enforcement itself. It would be self-perpetuating. So those things would help. We could have what I might call dumpster days, where we have a dumpster on a block and let everybody come out and throw away their trash. And we should have better enforcement to make sure that people aren't dumping, setting up cameras in key sites like Jersey Street or Jersey Ave over by Oliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Sue. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached that point.
You're not going to ask a question to me?
I'm sorry?
You're not going to ask a question to me?
No, sir.
I get jealous. Oh, that's okay.
At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the point in our program where the candidates will have an opportunity to share with you their closing remarks, and we will begin with candidate Valz.
Thank you, Councilman Morris, once again. A councilman is always a councilman. I want to say thank you to my two openings over here, candidates that acknowledge in the whole question that I am the councilman. Thank you for that, acknowledging that I'm your councilman of the 5th Ward. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot reinvent the wheel. If you have heard this statement, there's no plan. I've been working, first of all, with park rehabilitation, Lou Costello Park, Roberto Clemente Park. Been working with the cleanliness in the 5th Ward. 90% of our roads in the 5th Ward have been repaved or resurfaced, and more to come. If you look at the quality of life in the 5th Ward, it's at a peak moment because people could come and walk around our streets safely. The crime in the 5th Ward have been reducing since the new leadership of the police department came in. Now, about youth, we invest grant money through the Paterson Community Affair, Police Affair, to create programs for our youth year-around. If you look, the collaboration with the city and the Paterson Police, and the collaboration with the city, with the public school district, we have recreation center all over the city of Paterson, especially in the Fifth Ward. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know their wards. Now, talking about garbage, the new development that have been happening in the Fifth Ward, about 36-plus projects, they all have independent garbage collections. They pay for their own garbage collection. I know a developer that have a crew cleaning their property all the way around. They cooperating with the city. Now, to reinvent the wheel, that is Jersey Street, not Jersey Avenue. It's not my fault as a councilman that our dedicated DPW workers go day in, day out to clean up all the dumping is around the city. It's not the fault of the councilman, it's the people's responsibility. We had to tell them, listen, you can't do that in Paterson. We have been enforcing illegal dumper. We increased the fine for all those individuals dumping in our city. And if I could go on and on and on, we have created and amended a lot of ordinance that address the quality of life, the safety of our city, and much more. Welcome everyone to come to Paterson, because Paterson is a great city to live, and you have a great councilman in the Fifth Ward. Please come out and vote 4A for Luis Valz, true and real leadership, the people councilman, a person that have this job as a full-time councilman, not a part-time councilman. You could ask them what they're going to do. I don't think they have much to offer. Damas y caballeros, soy su concejal del Quinto Barrio. Están reinventando la rueda, palabras bonitas, diciendo que van a hacer, pero no tienen la experiencia. La experiencia no se puede improvisar. Yo, como su concejal, he seguido trabajando duro y arduamente con toda la comunidad de Paterson para que pueda el Quinto Barrio echar hacia adelante y también la ciudad de Paterson. Como concejal he trabajado con todos ellos para que la ciudad de Paterson siga moviéndose a una dirección segura, a una dirección que usted quiere a Paterson. Están reinventando la rueda. Yo he venido trabajando con los parques, con la ciudad, mantenerla limpia. Hemos trabajado para poner equipos para que nuestros empleados de obras públicas puedan seguir trabajando y otros departamentos. No es culpa del concejal, que hay gente irresponsable ayer ahí afuera en la calle tirando la basura, pero tenemos empleados responsables que van a hacer el trabajo de la irresponsabilidad de muchos que vienen a hacer cosas malas en nuestra ciudad. La calidad de vida, los programas para nuestros estudiantes, los programas para la recreación de nuestros residentes está puesta en juego. Nosotros hemos dado los fondos, nosotros hemos trabajado por nuestros residentes, y como su concejal, lo bueno no se cambia. You can't change the good things that happen in the Fifth Ward. Let's continue with the progress. Let's continue with your councilman of the Fifth Ward. True and real leadership, a man of action. God bless you, Paterson. Come out and vote. May 14 for Luis Valz, 4A, for action, for productive in the Fifth Ward. Thank you, and once again, thank you for having me here today. And thank you for watching.
Thank you, Candidate Velez. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the opportunity to hear the closing remarks from Candidate Mahia. I'm sorry, Candidate Sue. My mistake, apologies.
Thank you. I think I want to try and break things down into the three different parts. One, in order to get the city services we need, because I find that people in town, we spend a lot of time doing what I call fighting for normal. Fighting to not have potholes, fighting to not have garbage, fighting to not have crime. And I think a lot of these things end up being, in a lot of ways, a distraction from the real thing that's going on, which is spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and if you throw in the school district, billions of dollars over years. The way to deal with that from a governmental perspective is to have audits between the council and the mayor so that you can see that each individual one of these aspects is being properly addressed. And as much as it is good to talk about paving a street or filling a pothole or picking up trash, it really is something that should just be normal. It should just happen automatically. But what we find ourselves in a situation where we have to play favorites, you have to know somebody, if you're not friendly to them, then they cut you off and you get canceled, and it's just ridiculous and frustrating. And I think currently that's the situation that we have, and we need to get away from that. The audits would take care of that, and a fair examination with transparency that everybody can see what's going on. The next component that I've been talking about has been transportation. So Paterson is the third largest city in the state, but we have the worst of the 7 major cities when it comes to transportation. Since the average person in Paterson has an income by census of about $22,000, it's going to be hard to afford a car, and even if we have everybody with cars, we don't really have a place to put all those cars. So getting an enhanced transportation system, implementing the light rail plan from New Jersey Transit, 2 more train stops on our train line right now, one uptown and a proper combined train bus terminal, because our bus terminal or bus station and our train station are a mile apart, and then probably a train stop by the hospital. This would make a huge impact on the quality of life for people within the city. It would create opportunities to get to New York City, where there are jobs unlike anything we have here that would be great for our young people and help keep them away from the vices and difficulties of crime that we can so often see, sadly, in our community. I am a person who pushed for development of our national park area, and I'm glad to see that some things are taking place, but I'm unhappy to see that some of those things are just more housing, which detract from our ability to build a visitor's destination. That's a new district for the 5th Ward, and I feel that I'm uniquely equipped to address those issues, being a recipient of a New Jersey State Historic Preservation Award for education in that area. As well with my time on the zoning board and these various activities. Now, I need to just quickly, Mr. Valz said that I was removed, and that was true. It was all for illegal reasons. It's because I had a councilman take me out to breakfast and say, hey, won't you accept this money? And I told him, no, I won't do that. I won't take bribes. So that was very inappropriate, and it caused a lot of problems. So it was nonsense to say that I did anything wrong. And in fact, I had to hold my ground and maintain a position of integrity, which I was able to do. Very seriously, and it's very serious, is the overpopulation of the city. We see our schools overcrowded. We have schools being condemned. The kids' education is failing, as we see in the high school with math. And if we don't change this, if we don't slow down the amount of real estate development and find ways to build more schools and have more resources for our kids, we're just building disasters for children's lives. They're going to go into adulthood without the skills and abilities necessary to even balance a checkbook if you can't pass a basic high school math test. So I know that politicians really love to talk about development, but if you're doing it at the expense of children's lives, I think it's fundamentally wrong to the level of becoming an immoral activity. So I'd like to try and help straighten out some of these problems. I think that my record in this community for over 30 years speaks for itself as a person who's fought for the public and fought for our betterment. Thank you very much. Vote David Sue 3A.
Thank you, Candidate Sue. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we'll hear the closing remarks of Candidate Mahia.
Damas y caballeros, es verdad, yo quiero reinventar la rueda, porque si nunca hubiéramos reinventado la rueda, todavía estuviéramos montados en carros de madera. La innovación impulsa el progreso, no el estancamiento. No es necesidad tener experiencia para traer innovación para nuestro quinto barrio. Hoy mismo han escuchado su concejal actual, que él, porque no hemos hecho algo en el pasado, no deberíamos de tomar innovación para el futuro. Yo traigo la posición opuesta a eso. Si no lo hemos hecho en el pasado, si queremos un futuro mejor, necesitamos tomar decisiones diferentes para un futuro que vaya a mejorar los niños que son nuestro futuro. Si yo no tomé la oportunidad de hablar con el periódico negativamente del Señor, fue porque yo decidí enfocarme en presentar mi plataforma política para informarle a mi comunidad sobre las ideas que yo tengo. Mi nombre es Sebastián Mejía. Nací en este pueblo, trabajo en este pueblo y me importa el futuro de esta ciudad, de nuestro quinto barrio. Que nadie me venga a decir a mí que yo no conozco el quinto barrio porque desde niño lo estoy caminando. Yo quiero ver un futuro mejor. Por eso yo me postulé para concejal del quinto barrio. Y espero su apoyo y soy agradecido por el apoyo de la comunidad. 1A, Sebastián Mejía. Ladies and gentlemen, it's true. I want to reinvent the wheel. If we never reinvented the wheel, we will still be riding horse and buggy. If we don't want to make changes, we're going to be stuck having the same results. Innovation drives progress, not stagnation. I do have a platform, and I am ready, willing, and able to address the issues affecting the residents of the Fifth Ward. My platform is entitled We Over Me, for wellness streets, for safer environments, economic gain through new job opportunities and financial education, outreach for neighborhood associations, vital support for small businesses, enhanced education through improved city council, school board relations, repairing our roads with modern, environmentally friendly solutions, more focus on crime prevention and public safety. And I would love to endorse sewer upgrades to prevent flooding. So do not be deceived and lied to when you hear that Mahia has no platform. Mahia has a platform, and he has been presenting it to the residents of the Fifth Ward. It is entitled We Over Me, and it's not going anywhere, neither is Mahia. I look forward to continue growing, learning, and serving the residents of the Fifth Ward and of the city of Paterson. I cannot do this alone, and I never will pretend to have all the answers, but I will always continue to be a student, because as an educator and a servant, I understand that we are students for life. I look forward to serving you at any capacity that the Lord has me work in. That's what I'm here to do. And that's all three of us ultimately have chosen lives of service, and that I will respect. I look forward to serving you in the future and in the present. No matter what happens, I am going nowhere. I look forward to working alongside even the gentlemen sitting here at this table, our school system, whoever, to have a better future for the residents of the Fifth Ward that I love, I care for, and I consider my neighbors and my family. I look forward to your support on election day, early voting as well, mail-in votes as well. My ballot number is 1A, Sebastián Mejía. We Over Me, Sebastián Mejía, 1A. Les agradezco por su apoyo en estas elecciones.
Thank you, candidate Mahia. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our forum for the Fifth Ward candidates. Once again, we had Sebastián Mahia, We Over Me, ballot position 1A. We have David Sue, Sue for You, ballot position 3A. And we have Luis Valz, the People's Councilman, Council de Pueblo, ballot position 4A. Again, I'd like to thank the candidates for engaging in this afternoon's forum. I would also like to remind the Fifth Ward voters there is early voting beginning on May the 10th, which is a Friday, and ending on Sunday, May the 12th. On Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. On May the 14th, polls will open promptly at 6 a.m. and they will close at 8 p.m. We encourage each of you to go out and exercise your right to vote. I'd like to conclude by once again thanking Ms. Twidacia Hilbert, our timekeeper, Mr. Ryan Foote, Mr. Rafael Gonzalez, Sergio, and Mr. Samuel Ferreira for making sure that this went smoothly. Also like to extend my gratitude to the Deputy Clerk, Phyllis Riley, and our esteemed Madam Clerk, Jackie Murray, and obviously we cannot forget Corporation Counsel, keeping us all on the straight and narrow, Mr. Amen Abushi. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and remember, please exercise your right to vote. Take care.